news is brought to you in part by the Village Bank. Your village, your bank.
I want to begin by thanking Carol Moore and all of the staff in her office, and Hattie Kerwin-Derrick and all of the staff in the mayor's office for helping organize these inaugural proceedings. Again, I'm Councilor-elect Lyle Baker, and as the senior member of the Newton Council in length of service, and I guess I am also senior in age, I'm honored to welcome you to this important event and explain a little about what is going to happen. This is the first time in my memory that we've held an inauguration outside the chambers of the council in City Hall. But if we're to do so, it is only fitting that we do it in a Newton school, as it provides physical evidence of our community's commitment to public education. And while he cannot be here today, I should mention that Councilor Gentile helped supervise the construction of this new school building not so long ago. And while this auditorium is spacious and well ventilated, please keep your masks on, even if you're speaking. Even a Newton education cannot stop a virus, at least on its own. The business is to assure that we have an orderly transfer of power from outgoing officials to newly elected ones, as each newly elected official is duly sworn into office. And except for some members of our Honorable School Committee, this process may seem invisible, because all of those serving on the 2020-2021 City Council are succeeding themselves, as is the mayor. For some of the school committee members, however, this is the first time being sworn into office. For me, it is my 20th time, and it is still remarkable, as it marks the peaceful change of government, something we must always prize as foundational to our democracy, even at the local level. I would now like to invite Mayor-elect Ruth Ann Fuller and Supreme Judicial Court Chief Justice Kimberly Budd, herself a Newton resident, and the Honorable Mary Elizabeth Heffernan, First Justice of the Newton District Court, and I should take some pride in saying a former law student of mine, to come to the rostrum to administer the oath of office to Mayor-elect Ruth Ann Fuller. Afterwards, Mayor Fuller will take over these proceedings, but let me just close by thanking all of you who've made all of this day possible. Thank you very much.
I, Ruth Ann Fuller,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts
to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts
and will support the Constitution thereof.
and will support the Constitution thereof.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I
I, Ruth Ann Fuller,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me
all the duties incumbent upon me as mayor of the city of Newton,
agreeably to the rules and regulations
agreeably to the rules and regulations
of the Constitution and laws of this Commonwealth.
of the Constitution and laws of this Commonwealth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I
I, Ruth Ann Fuller,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm so pleased and honored to join you today for this inauguration ceremony. Congratulations, Mayor Fuller, on being sworn in for a second term as the first woman mayor of the city of Newton. Congratulations to all the members of the City Council and the school committee who are being sworn in today as well. And thank you to everyone who has helped to make this such a special event. Having lived here in Newton with my husband for more than 16 years, and having raised our two sons here, I feel a strong connection with this community. So I deeply appreciate the extraordinary efforts that the mayor, the city council, and the school committee have made, along with everyone in our city government, to deal with the many challenges that we've faced, especially over the last 2 years. My own experience in leading our state court system during the past 13 months has given me some understanding of the many problems that you have grappled with and the hard decisions that you've had to make. So thank you for all your dedication to serving the people of Newton during this difficult time. It sometimes seems as if we're facing a perfect storm of calamities and conflicts in our nation, between the persistent pandemic, political strife that just seems to get worse and worse, and the repeated tragic reminders of the inequities in our society. Reading the daily headlines, it's difficult not to become discouraged. How do we keep moving forward to tackle these seemingly intractable problems in the face of all the bad news? One path is to focus on building trust in our society. An article published last year by the consulting firm Deloitte concluded that America is experiencing a crisis of trust. Trust in the federal government has been declining for decades, and even trust in state and local governments significantly declined during the pandemic. Likewise, the percentage of Americans who believe that most people can be trusted has fallen over the last half century. And a 2019 survey found that 70% of respondents believe that Americans' low trust in each other makes it harder to solve the country's problems. So many of our problems are created or exacerbated by a lack of trust. People avoid vaccination because they distrust public health authorities and medical experts. People disbelieve election results because they've been led to distrust government and the democratic process. People fear and mistrust those who seem different from them. At the root of that is distrust. So how can we restore trust? For government entities, Deloitte suggests a focus on demonstrating humanity, transparency, capability, and reliability in their interactions with the public. That is, when government acts with empathy, kindness, and fairness, when it openly shares information and the reasoning behind decisions made, when it creates high-quality programs and services to meet the needs in the community, and when it delivers those programs and services consistently and dependably, it shows a genuine care for constituent well-being and generates confidence and trust. Government also has a role to play in building trust between and among the members of the public by preventing discrimination, fostering dialogue, and supporting a stronger sense of community. We are fortunate that our city government puts these principles into practice every day, in many ways. We can see transparency and humanity reflected in the mayor's weekly email updates, ongoing improvements in our city infrastructure, repairing roads, renovating schools, and developing affordable housing demonstrate capability and reliability. The heroic efforts of our school committee, school administrators, and teachers and staff to continue providing a quality education for our students while maintaining a safe environment during the pandemic similarly reflect a commitment to capability and reliability. And the work of the Human Rights Commission and Director of Community Engagement and Inclusion, among others, helps to prevent discrimination and strengthen the community. In our state court system, we similarly are striving to build trust with court users. We seek to express humanity and transparency through fair judicial decisions that explain the reasoning behind our rulings. We're working to increase our capability and reliability by improving our information technology to better serve court users. And we are striving to eliminate discrimination through ongoing training and dialogue to address the insidious effects of of implicit bias. Efforts to build trust, whether here in Newton or in our courts, may seem small in the face of the enormous problems looming over us. But our collective efforts and the efforts of other local and state institutions like ours can inspire others to undertake similar work, leading to widespread improvements.
At this time, will the members-elect of the City Council and School Committee please rise to take your oath of office? I'm going to have you face the audience. How about that, rather than me? And I'm going to ask you at this time to please raise your right arm. There will be 3 occasions, by the way, where you'll need to substitute your own name in, and 1 occasion where your office. Here we go. I,
Tamiko Shensky,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts
to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts
and will support the Constitution thereof.
and will support the Constitution thereof.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I
I, Tamiko Shensky,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all of the duties incumbent upon me
all of the duties incumbent upon me
as
as chair of the school committee
of the City of Newton,
of the City of Newton,
agreeably to the rules and regulations
agreeably to the rules and regulations
of the Constitution
of the Constitution
and laws of the Commonwealth.
and laws of the Commonwealth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I
I, Tamiko Shensky,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations to each and every one of you. For the last 2 years have been so difficult, and indeed anxiety about COVID-19 is still palpable. We shoulder a collective grief of losing 223 Newtonians and 822,000 souls across our country. We mourn them. And we act to stem the tide of loss by getting vaccinated and boosted. And we stem the tide of grief by wearing a mask and giving each other space. We honor those who died by caring for our neighbors and loving our families with increased devotion. But in so many ways, our hearts are full. Our love of this good city and our shared aspirations for Newton are undiminished. Indeed, I am optimistic that we will meet the challenges of today and embrace the promise of Newton's future by working together. A few moments ago, all of us in this area took the oath of office. And I've administered the oath many times to Fire Chief Gino Lucchetti and Police Chief John Carmichael, to the new women and men who put their lives on the line serving our city in our police and fire departments, as well as, yes, to our newly elected counselors and school committee members. And each time I do, I am moved. For we just did this together, we just swore to support the Constitution of the United States, and thus to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. This is our profound duty, made all the more urgent by the difficulties we face. We have committed to forge here in Newton for the generations that follow us a greater, better, and more beautiful future. And we will meet this moment by investing in our people, our places, and our community. Newtonians need us to act with urgency as we move towards a future where every student's individual needs are supported, which, yes, the pandemic has made even more paramount, where investments in our school buildings reflect our deep commitment to our children. We'll be cutting the ribbon at our new preschool in 2022, followed by Lincoln Elliott, and with others queued up. Where our older residents benefit from a new state-of-the-art senior center. I look forward to that ribbon cutting 3 short years from now. Where music and theater, pickleball and soccer, walking and biking are woven more into the everyday fabric of our lives, bringing us together and lifting our spirits. Where those who are struggling from mental health challenges, addiction, housing instability, food insecurity, and domestic violence are better connected to care and support. And where we institutionalize equity and social justice, reinforce inclusion, affirm diverse identities, support victims of hate and bias, foster respect among all of us, and celebrate difference. Our places and public spaces need investments as we move toward a future where our village centers mirror the vibrancy of our residents, with tree-lined wide sidewalks, accessible crossings, outdoor dining and gathering spaces, a thriving arts and culture vibe, diverse and affordable housing options, and a healthy local business scene with a mix of wonderful restaurants. Where our zoning allows for housing for working people, for young families just starting out, for our older residents when they want to downsize, and for people with limited incomes. And we complete the transformation of the West Newton Armory into 43 green apartments that will be 100% affordable. Where Newton lives up to our moniker, the Garden City, with improved playing fields and playgrounds, new greenways and accessible trails, newly planted trees and well-maintained parks, along with newly secured open spaces in perpetuity like the one we all fought for, our own Webster Woods. Where we have roads in better condition and more transportation choices. We launched Newton in Motion, NUMO, our city's rideshare service. It's a real great game changer. And this past year, I, along with our state-led delegation led by Representative Kay Kahn and with Congressman Jake Auchincloss, we secured design plans for new commuter rail stations in Auburndale, West Newton, and Newtonville to finally allow frequent and accessible service. Our community must continue to evolve as we move towards a future where Newton continues to lead on green initiatives. So we use less, green the rest, compost more, and recycle right. We will be guided by the goals of Newton's first climate action plan, written and enacted, thank you city councilors, during my first term. Where city services are easier to use and more responsive to our needs, with our recently launched NewGov state-of-the-art online information and permitting system as a model. Where everyone who works for this city knows they will have excellent health insurance and a funded pension plan. Where Newton's finances continue to be strong and we match our ambitions to the reality of our means. And where our significant one-time ARPA investments help those who are struggling today and build the foundation for a better tomorrow. I am optimistic about our future in Newton, and we are on the right path. And I'm so grateful to the voters of Newton for giving me this opportunity to continue serving. Even as the challenges of our times test our resolve. These challenges are manifold and add to the pressure all of us are feeling. Supply chain issues and inflation are causing prices to go up, hitting our wallets. Housing prices here in Newton are through the roof. As the Chief Justice alluded to, headlines highlight gun violence and inequities across our society. All of this can make our very foundations feel shaky. And yet, in the face of such hurt and instability, Newtonians renew my faith in our shared future. Our community has come together for Festa, Diwali, our first Indigenous Peoples' Day and Juneteenth celebrations, pumpkin smashing, window painting, Patty's road racing, and supporting our school principals. We tackle here in Newton the seemingly impossible by coming together. Newton resident Dr. Justin Holtzman teamed up with our Health and Human Services and MPS staff to provide thousands and thousands of vaccines and boosters. We feed the food insecure with the help of our 3 food pantries and an amazing grab-and-go program. We step in to support households who lost their incomes with the help from the leaders of the Newton COVID-19 CARES Fund. Think of the people powering our boards and commissions. Green Newton, Forge, Newton Neighbors Helping Neighbors, the Newton Coalition of Black Residents, the Chinese American Association of Newton, the Newton Conservators, Newton Community Pride, the Newton Cultural Alliance, the Interfaith Clergy, our restaurateurs, and so many others. These Newtonians are weaving a social fabric that makes all our lives better. Importantly, we find ourselves in a much better place this January 1st than a year ago. We have access to vaccinations and booster shots. Over 95% of Newtonians are vaccinated. That's remarkable. And as our community of neighbors come through for one another, so too our city and school employees for our community. Across our departments, I see a level of preparedness and professionalism that inspires me. I will forever be grateful to our first responders and nurses, teachers and custodians, librarians and lawyers, human resource and health and human services professionals, and all the others. And I want to thank the family of these employees, so often left to themselves while their loved ones worked long hours, as well as to the families of the city councilors and school committee members who are here today. This is certainly true of my family. The love of my life, my husband Joe, our wonderful children, Chris, Mark, and David, and their partners, Charlotte and Rowie, and of course, our grandkids, Henry and Jeremiah. My family has been my rock and my refuge. I love you. The past 4 years brought challenges I never imagined when I first took the oath of office as mayor 4 years ago. Of course, COVID-19. But I also speak of the incivility that surrounds us. It has infected our national politics, and it's found its way to Newton. With our words and our actions, we must unwind this unwelcome tone. I know each of us who took the sacred oath today to form a more perfect union can model how to work together, to listen to each other, and to create a shared path forward. Indeed, Thomas Jefferson argued that it is our patriotic duty to do so, for the future is in our hands. We who were democratically elected must work to trust. Chief Justice loved that you used the word trust. We who were democratically elected must work to trust in one another's love for this community.
I'm excited to start a new term and honored to be able to guide our council through it. We had no idea what was in store for us 2 years ago today. The pandemic forced us to isolate and lock down, and just when we all thought the pandemic was behind us, along came raging Omicron. I was recently asked by a constituent, what keeps me up at night? You might be surprised by my answer. I told him that it was the disappearance of empathy and the complementary lack of compassion. Can Newton residents walk in another's shoes? Can we solve problems with compassion? First, I need to say that Newton is a generous and giving community. We support charities locally and around the world. But the tone of political discourse in Newton is worrisome. Conversations on local issues, roads, trash collection, schools, zoning, parking, streetlights, have often devolved into us versus the other. Often evil intent is ascribed to the other. Some say the former administration used anxiety and fear as motivators rather than empathy and compassion. Has this trickled down into Newton conversations? Can we address the winter parking ban, zoning, or just missed trash pickup with empathy and compassion? With these, we can seek balanced solutions for the resident with no driveway, the family that gets priced out of Newton, the disabled adult child living with aging parents because of the lack of affordable housing options, or even the trash collection company who can't stay staffed up because of COVID. I believe empathy and compassion can change the tone of our discourse. The pandemic's rules for social interaction force us to only see each other virtually, except today, thank God we're together today, to see each other virtually on computer screens. It seems these rules are here to stay for a little while longer. Vaccines, testing, masking, and social distancing keep us physically healthy. Empathy and compassion can help us stay mentally healthy as we try to get to yes on so many controversial issues. I will work harder to listen carefully and work on compassionate solutions, taking everyone's needs into account. I ask that all of us, elected officials and residents alike, try to do the same. Before I conclude, I want to note that this council stayed intact from the last council, which will enable us to hit the ground running as we serve the city. We will make government as transparent as possible. Join us on Zoom, even after we go back to City Hall, Lord willing and the creek don't rise. Soon the docket tracking database will be released and help everyone track our progress. It is also my hope to create a council climate action mitigation committee to address related docket items and give them the attention they need and deserve. Finally, I thank you for attending inauguration, a fresh start to getting to yes on so many things. I wish you and your family and your friends a happy, healthy, and solution-filled new year.
Newton News was brought to you in part by the Village Bank. Your village, your bank.